Hi, this is a TvZ on Python, and this is a bit unusual since for the first time I'm like covering an off-race matchup. For me, I play ZVT, ZVP, and PvZ as my main race. Though my ZvZ and PvT and so on are not that half bad, and my TvZ is not bad either, but it certainly can't be considered that much. Well, it can't be considered to be even close to my Z and P level, but it's still way better than average, I guess. In Python you can play in numerous ways, but you gotta remember that the rush distances are not as long as in, for example, Andromeda. So he could be doing 9 pool, he could be doing pretty much anything, so it's really gonna make a difference no matter what. Usually the most common way of starting a TvZ game is making a supply depot first, and then 1 or 2 barracks and fast expand or no fast expand. Totally depends. I made a supply depot once my supply hit like 9 exactly. That's pretty much when I get 100 minerals while having constant SCV production. Notice how I also scouted that backyard with an SCV. Sometimes when the Zerg sends is on the nearby starting position, and he sends an Overlord. An Overlord actually has like 1 or 2 blocks longer range than any other Terran unit and so on. So he can scout you and know you're here without you knowing that he's there. That's why I set an SCV at around 10 or so over there, so I can see if he actually avoided my main with an Overlord or something. It actually happens quite often. You should keep that in mind. I also scout after I get my supply depot or so. It's that's simply so I might have a chance of blocking his fast expansion attempts. So if I send it like right after I get my supply depot, it's kind of 50-50 whether I'm able to see and block his fast expansion attempt instantly, but like just before his drone morphs or something. But like if I don't scout him in my first attempt, then it's not gonna be there. As you can see, his hatchery is already morphing. But it doesn't really matter. Besides that, it's also useful scouting after your supply depot, since that way you're able to come over to his main before he can block his entrance and deny your scouting completely and so on. So you should just remember that you should scout at least somewhat early. You don't have to overkill it or anything, but you should still scout, and that's for sure. Notice how I saw his 12 hat build, since I planned on doing a one barracks expansion and so on. That means that I can pretty much just stop my marine production for a second and simply completely switch over, make a save for my command center. As you saw, I spent my first 400. I gathered like 400 minerals and getting my command center with that. There's a lot of variations of this build as well, but at this time I decided to make a second barracks before making my refinery. Some though decide to just go refinery right after, even though they only get so many marines. This time though I decided to just make a second barracks, so I get a few more marines when I move out and so on, and it's a bit safer as well. Even though he did a 12 hat, I still can't let my guard down completely, so I gotta be prepared whether I'm gonna need a bunker, whether I'm gonna need some SCVs helping if he decides to make a lot of links and do some sort of attack with 2 to 3 hat speed links or something. I don't know, so I gotta be prepared for that. Making only 1 barracks is a bit more risky, but on the other hand, you're able to attack him maybe a bit faster and force him to make sunken colonies a bit earlier than he normally would. That really makes a difference, since he's not spending all that money on drones at that point, so he's forced to defend earlier. But it doesn't really make that big of a difference over here, depending on the situation, of course. And this time I was able to see that he's making a 3 hat build with a not very slow but not very fast gas either, so he's probably gonna be making lurkers. Of course, it's not set in stone or anything. He could be making mutas all the same, depending on what he's doing and so on. But if he makes mutas, I'm not going to be in a very big hurry on seeing what he's doing. Anyhow, I'm still trying my best to see what he's doing, figuring out like what sort of build order could he be using. That's why I sent my second SCV, so I can just get that one smaller edge more to of an advantage to my game. Also, once you get your academy up, you gotta make steam packs and 2 comsat stations pretty soon. The less you know about your opponent, the quicker you should be on making your comsat station. Also, keep adding more barracks if in this build. You're gonna need it. Usually it's okay to like make even 3 to 4 barracks before making a factory or so. With this build, it's quite fine actually, especially if he's not making a very quick tech, and even if he is, it's all the better. And now once you have once you get your medics and so on out, I prefer to send one firebat with my 1 or 2 firebats with my main army, just so that even if he has a lot of links, it won't really be a problem. Now with my scans, I was able to figure out what he's doing with the spire, but I scanned again just in case, so I'm able to figure out like a bit more on like what he's doing. For example, he could just be trying to deceive me with that one spire and just be making some sort of a hydrogen or something meanwhile. So it's really important that I scout like generally every single spot that he could be doing some stuff. And also notice how the next 2 units I built on my main were firebats, and that's really essential, since if he has links out like this and he attacks my main, if I don't have firebats over there, it's gonna become quite a trouble. Keep making SCVs. You're gonna need SCVs until you have like 70 of them, depending a bit on your build order, but usually it's something like you keep making SCVs until you have 70, and that's all. Also, you're gonna need a marine range pretty quick, since fighting lurkers and mutas is just a pain in the ass if you don't have like marine range upgraded, so it's quite important. Also notice, since I was like I noticed that he was doing quick muta, so I need a bit faster engineering bay that I might usually need, since I'm gonna need those missile turrets. When I scanned him, his spire was like 200 to 300 HP, so I gotta start the engineering bay at that time, the latest, to get them on time. Thankfully, mutas take quite a while to make and so on, so it might not really be a problem. The first place you're gonna make missile turrets to is gonna be your naturals. That's gonna be the main target, which is gonna be also the hardest to defend, so it's important that you get missile turrets up over there. Also bring some marine medics up over here for some extra defense and so on, so your main won't be in trouble meanwhile. Also, since it's easy to defend over here, it's also important to keep the marines and so on. Also notice how instead of making a machine shop at this point, I'm just making a starport first. When he's making mutas, then I'm not going to be